Hey everybody, Prepper Nurse One here. I'm making the chat bigger so I can see your guys' comments better. Okay, so how's everybody doing tonight? As you can probably tell, I still am not feeling the best. All I've done the last couple days is sleep, to be honest with you. But it's not been a whole lot of fun. So obviously, the topic of today's video, I thought that might be, you know, apropos, if you will, talking about sickness after SHTF, people getting sick and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people are talking, oh, they don't want to have a group and that they would just want to be themselves and their family and stuff like that. But if your main person that is, the head of the household goes down with sickness, you could be in big, big trouble. And especially if it's a sickness which is going to end up leading to death, it could be really, really bad. Okay, so it's just something that I wanted to, obviously address and talk about with you guys, so that you guys could, kind of get that my take on it. Because I was, like I said, it's like the last couple of days. I mean, I have been down. I've been doing nothing but sleeping. So I apologize for not making a video yesterday, but I just didn't have it. Just did not have it. So let's see. So let me get into my point first before I start doing questions and stuff like that. Let me talk about a little bit about this. So talking about sickness after SHTF, uh, you know, when you're dealing with sickness after SHTF, you're going to be dealing with a lot of, a lot of dysentery because of bad drinking water. Uh, you're going to have a lot of flu and stuff like that because of people and jammed into close quarters. So when you have a lot of people jammed into a small area, like if we ended up having, because say if it was wintertime and we had to have 20 people in the house trying to stay warm, you've got a lot of people on top of each other. The chance of, respiratory distress and those type of things is going to go right up through the roof. And then it's going to go like a shot through everybody. So those are things that you really want to think about. And when you have something like that, that type of a sickness, and if you don't have any way to medicate that type of sickness, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to, to die because of that. So, if there's any way that you can isolate people that are sick in that time period, that is definitely the way to do it. So I got my tea here, and I'm working on that. So I'm very congested. I may have to blow my nose a few times. So uh, please forgive me for that. But what I've been doing, actually, I've been taking regular medication, and I'm also hold on a second. I'm also taking ground cinnamon with honey. I've been taking that a couple times a day as well, just trying to beat this. It's not been a whole lot of fun, I can tell you. And I know exactly when I got sick. Tuesday, I had taken Heather to a doctor's appointment, and that night I started, and it was a pediatric doctor's appointment. So because she still goes to the pediatric doctor, and she. They said, is anybody feeling sick? And I'm like, we're like, no. Well, then you go on this side. That's the healthy side. We're like, okay. So we see the doctor. Well, those kind of places, guys, are germ factories. They are just notoriously, everybody is just terrible, So it's with it being like that, it just it's a horrible, horrible thing. And then next, like I said, that night I started coughing a little bit. The next day, which was Wednesday, I felt like crap, and I was like, oh man, I got something. And then Thursday, I just was like, just completely done. I mean, and then today, the same thing. I've been sleeping off and on all day long. And the weather obviously didn't help. It was sub-zero temperatures, so it wasn't any fun either. But what are you going to do? But anyway, so we get into the chat here, guys. A couple things before we even get started. I want to talk about, please be respectful of other people in the chat. I definitely don't want, people being nasty to each other. It's not necessary. So I just ask that. If you have a question, please put it in all cap locks so that it'll stand out more to me. And then that way I can see that, better that way. And so, yes, and I've been taking vitamin C too. And I was, haven't had chicken noodle soup yesterday for dinner. So haven't really had much of an appetite, which is not fun. But what are you going to do? It's just part of those things. But in a post-event, like I said, any kind of a sickness like that, you're going to really want to have complete control over that situation because, it can go through an entire group and knock everybody out. And then who's going to be watching, you know, what is SHTF? SHTF is poop hitting the fan, but using a different term. So poop hits the fan. So you figure that out from there. But anyway, in that type of situation, you're really going to want to try to keep a really controlled environment and have an area basically designated for sick people so that you can get in there and take care of them and stuff like that. You know, sickness is just, it's bad now. I know I was talking to, who was I talking to today? I was talking to somebody, and they had to go to the doctors, and the hospital where they went to, she had some kind of bloodborne or blood infection. And she went to the one hospital. They sent her to another hospital because they had no beds. From that hospital, they sent her to another hospital because they had no beds. So they had her in the emergency in the third hospital for almost a full day before she actually finally got a room. So that's kind of frightening if you think about it, you know, and how fast that type of you know, thing can get around and affect people. So pineapples reduce phlegm. That would be nice. Like I said, I'm more congested. It's not so much phlegm, a little bit of phlegm, but I'm more congested than anything else. It's more in my head. And it's just an overall body ache, which is not a whole lot of fun. So let me see here. Hold on a second. Let's see. Put this back over here. It's driving me nuts a little bit. Let's see. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to move something here. All right. All right. So opinions on fish mocks. I think fish mocks is a really good thing to have. Let's see. You know, they're definitely a very, very good thing to have, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not telling you to go out and get them. In my opinion, would I use fish mocks? Yes, absolutely I would. I've talked a little bit about this before. And, you know, so it's fish mocks is definitely, it's the same exact thing as amoxicillin. So it's not any different. It's the same exact ingredients, except that they label it for fish instead of for human beings. Okay. Let's see. What is my opinion for Medicare for All debate going on right now? You know, it's hard to say because the insurance companies right now, basically, they can dictate what they're going to approve and what they're not going to approve. So you're paying out this ridiculous amount of money for health insurance, and they basically have full control over what you can do and what you cannot do. So it's just, the healthcare industry is absolutely horrible, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, the insurance companies are getting freaking filthy, stinking rich. Let's say I'm a big insurance company, okay? And I got you and all these other people putting in their money every month, and I'm getting all this money. And then you need this specialized procedure that may or may not determine, you know, what is wrong with you. And I go, yeah, you know, no, I'm not going to allow that because it costs too much money. That's what they do. That's what they do right now. So it's, you know, it's a messed up situation. It really, really, truly is. Yeah, it's a joke. That's right, Randy. You are absolutely right. The healthcare system is a joke. You know, like I said, insurance companies have total and complete control over what is approved and what is not approved. So it's, you know, it's a no-win situation. You're screwed either way, to be honest with you. It's terrible. Let me just see here. I'm looking at your guys' comments. What's the best way to treat pneumonia during SHTF? Okay. You know, again, you're going to need to do isolation. In an SHTF situation, somebody comes down with something, you're going to need to isolate them, either in another building if you can, or an area that is, you know, cut off from everybody else so that doesn't spread through the whole group. In an SHTF situation, things are going to be bad. You know, you have to think about what is going to be taking place in an SHTF situation. You're going to have a lot of people in smaller groups or in smaller spaces all together. Okay, number one. Number two, people are going to have to be outside more, working, gathering, you know, doing different things that they're not used to doing. So first of all, there's going to be that adjustment period where you're going to have a lot of injuries, pulled muscles, you know, and those type of things where people are not used to using muscles that they haven't used in forever. So they're going to be really, really sore. And then if somebody gets sick, it can go through a group of people really, really fast. So, that's that's the hardest part of it. So, as far as treating it, like I said, if you have antibiotics, that's great. Use antibiotics to treat, the different sicknesses that are out there. Like I said, if they have dysentery, making sure that they're getting their fluids. If you can, you have like Gatorade and those type of things so that they can get the electrolytes back in their system. That's a good thing to have as well. Not that everybody's going to be storing up a whole bunch of Gatorade, but just that's an example. You want to make sure that they're not like running that right out through their system. So, obviously the number one thing, hygiene, guys, is going to be a huge, huge part of SHTF. Proper hand washing, handling of food, making sure that, you're washed up and stuff like that. Hi, Socks. Do not come over here. No. Stay right there. I know, I hear you. Good girl. So proper hand washing, making sure that everybody's showering on a regular basis. These are things that are going to be really, really important. You might not think so, but it's going to be really, really important, okay, in that aspect. What should caregivers wear for protection? Well, obviously you're going to want to wear gloves. You're going to want to wear a mask to hopefully not spread that infection, hopefully that you don't catch it yourself. So that's with anybody that's dealing with the sick people, they're going to want to make sure that they're protecting themselves as much as they possibly can so that sickness isn't passing on to them. Because I'm telling you, like if a major flu went through, it could take out a whole lot of people in a hurry. And that's a very, very scary situation. Let's see. What's the best way? I just talked about treating pneumonia. If you have antibiotics, definitely use antibiotics. Isolation, like I talked about, stuff like that. Wild ginseng, another good thing to use. Yes. No nuclear treaty could mean an EMP. It's it could happen. It's if the people that are the enemies of our country wanted to come on, Sax, you're kind of blocking that, honey. Go, good girl. If they're blocking, oh my God, if there's no treaty, then I can't even think right, guys. I'm so sorry. If there's no treaty, there definitely could be more of a chance of an EMP happening. There's so many other things that could happen too ahead of before, but that are way worse to worry about than an EMP. That's my my take on that. I think that there's a lot worse things going on right now than a possibility of an EMP. Now, don't get me wrong. If an EMP happens, it's going to be a very, very decimating situation around the entire country. So people are going to be in deep, deep, crap if there's an EMP happens. So let's see. What's the best over-the-counter? Let's see. Good book for natural remedies. I'm gonna be doing a video on recommended books. So I actually have a whole bunch of different books. So what I'm going to do is actually going to pull them all out, and I'm going to do a video on that about books that I would recommend that you have in case when SHTF happens. Okay, so I will definitely be doing a video on that. And again, I apologize. I am not clear at all tonight, so I'm very, very clouded. I don't feel well at all, so I apologize if I'm kind of not really jumping into stuff. So I apologize. You should always have aspirin. Yeah, having aspirin on hand is definitely a good thing to have, especially if somebody's having a heart attack. Having aspirin is going to be a real good thing just for the early part of that. You got to remember now, guys, in SHTF, having a heart attack, and if they can't do anything for that heart attack, it could be another reason for a death sentence. So there's a lot of things, a lot of things with that that's very, very scary. Okay. How long after exploration is vitamin C good? Okay. As far as the vitamins, what happens with a lot of times they start to lose their potency. after a certain amount of time. So they're still going to be good. They just won't be as effective. So you might have to take more of them. And again, you have to kind of like gauge that, how long, you've had them. If it's something that you have in a regular rotation, and say you keep 2 extra bottles of vitamin C and you're using one, once you use that one, then you buy a new one and put that at the end of your rotation. That's a good way of doing that. Okay. So that you're always kind of making sure you're using that medication. So it's not a bad idea. What's a good tourniquet to get? What brand do you recommend? There's so many different ones out there, guys, as far as tourniquets go. I mean, you basically, if you have, there's, like I said, there's not any one brand that I would recommend because there's so many different options that you can do. You just have to look at what's out there, see what you're comfortable with, and say, yeah, that's something that I would feel comfortable using, and that's what you should go with. I mean, tourniquets can be made really, really easy with a piece of rope and a stick. You can make a tourniquet out of that, or using a belt. I mean, you can make that a tourniquet. So, I mean, if you want to have a tourniquet for your kit, like I said, there's a lot of different options out there that you can go with. So I can't really say that I recommend any one thing. It's a whole lot of different things. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, 550 paracord. Yeah, that's a great one to use too for a tourniquet. Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to go out and buy a really fancy thing. So, while I'm thinking about it, guys, I just wanted to mention too, the sale continues until next Monday on my website, 20% off of everything. So if you're looking to get any kind of freeze-dried stuff, t-shirts or coffee mug, that is available, 20% off, and the discount code is summer, please. Excuse me. And so that's what, if you go preparedness1.com, and that's where that is at. So if you're looking to add anything, that would be the place to go right now and take advantage of that sale. So, excuse me. Do I use colloidal silver? You know what? I don't have any on hand right now. Hey, from Fort Drum, New York. How you doing, Haley? Actually, Haley, I was supposed to be stationed at Fort Drum, and I was a hometown recruiter's aide for 6 weeks first. I went up to Fort Drum, and they were like, okay, well, we already filled your slot for your MOS here, so we're sending you to Fort Bragg. So that's how I ended up at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. But my original permanent party was supposed to be Fort Drum after I got done with basic and AIT. But because I did that 6 weeks, that window, they filled my slot up before I got up there. So, but as far as colloidal silver goes, I don't have any of that right now. It's definitely a good thing to have. I definitely would recommend having that, yes. Let's see. Hey, from Sherman, Texas. Man, you guys are. How's your weather down there in Texas? I know it's been colder than cold up here. We've had some really cold weather, so not a whole lot of fun. This is going at a much slower pace tonight, guys. And again, I apologize. I really don't feel well, so I just, I want you to bear with me, okay? Yeah, I thought about it, Amy Joyce. I did, but I was like, I didn't make a video yesterday, so I wanted to make sure I came on, today. The kids are doing good. Neither one of them are sick, thank goodness. Oh. Okay, diabetes and SHTF. As long as you're not insulin dependent diabetic, that can be managed with diet and getting excess weight off. A lot of people that are insulin dependent, when SHTF happens, it's not going to be a good thing at all. It's pretty much going to be a death sentence, because if you rely on insulin, if you run out of insulin, that's going to be the end of it. So if you can somehow now get yourself where you can not be insulin dependent, and a lot of that, guys, comes with weight. A lot of people that are really, really heavy become insulin dependent, and that's where the issues come from. I mean, my mother is insulin dependent now, and realistically, she never was before, and because of her weight, that's why she has she's insulin dependent at this point. So, if she actually got that weight off, she could get to a point where she didn't need to do the insulin anymore. but not a good thing. Is it safe long-term store dry food in gallon plastic jugs? I've heard mixed things about that. I've had I've stored some stuff in is like an experiment in plastic pop bottles, but I've been told by other people that they pulled them out after like a year of them sitting in there, and they had a funny taste to them when they tried eating them after that. So I only did a few things like that, and but for the most part, I don't. Most of the time, I vacuum seal everything, and if you can vacuum seal everything and then have it stored in a like a 5 gallon bucket, that's a food grade bucket, I think that's probably the better way to go with with doing that. So that would be my advice. Survival skill videos we should watch. There's a lot of different good information out there. You really kind of have to take it for what you think is something that you want to do. It's hard to say. There's so much good information out there, different sites. That people are learning the basic skills. I think that people really should learn. Know how to make a shelter. Watch people that do that type of thing and learn and see how they're doing that. Know how to make a fire. Know how to get tinder and those type of things so that you could start a fire if you had to. I actually had a question the other day, and it actually made me laugh. Somebody asked me, well, how are we going to boil water, when SHTF happens? And I'm like, well, you start a fire. It's just, but a lot of people don't know how to start a fire. And so, that's how things are going to have to be done. In a worst case scenario where there's no power, everything's going to be back old school. So knowing how to do those different things, I think is really, really important. Most probable scenario for SHTF situation. All right. My top, say, 3 things that are the most probable things that would happen SHTF situation would be a grid down situation. Hey, James, thank you very much. Lidocaine 2 vials in my med kit. Yes, I would. James, I would definitely keep that in your med kit. That's a good thing to have. Lidocaine is going to be a very good thing to have because that's going to help ease pain. So, yes, you definitely should. But, of course, now I lost my train of thought. Like I said, guys, I am so sorry. Anyway, but what was I even talking about? Man. Talking about with the fire and stuff. Oh no, scenarios. Okay. So, most likely a grid down situation would be the number one scenario that could happen, okay? Other than a grid down situation, and that could be either an EMP or it could be, somebody supposedly attacking the grid and shutting our grid down. So that would be the most probable thing, in my opinion. Some kind of a pandemic that was killing off a large majority of the population. Financial collapse would be like the third most logical thing. So those would be like the big 3 things that I would be more concerned about than anything else. Other than that, possible, war. As far as like a nuclear war would be like about the 4th on my list that I would be concerned about. Hopefully that never happens. Because it's like hopefully that the people that are in charge are smart enough to realize that if we ended up doing a nuclear war type of situation, it would be just a decimating thing for everybody on this planet. So hopefully they're smart enough not to do that. So, but we'll see. Who knows? I'm telling you. A pandemic would be more of a really good way of culling the population. And again, that could be something that was released on purpose with the direct result of a lot of deaths of people. And that way you keep the infrastructure intact and you keep, everything is running and working. It just the people aren't there. So that's why I always feel like if they did a grid down situation, I think they would do it, calling it a cyber attack. And I think that would be a more plausible way instead of an EMP that would happen. That's just my opinion on that. Let's see. With food and water stocked, how do you get to your bug out location? Well, like I said, if you can keep most of your supplies at your bug out location, that's the best way to do it. If you can do that, if you can live at your bug out location, that's the ideal situation. there's no better way to do it because then everything is already on site. And so, but getting to your bug out location with a tremendous amount of supplies, depending on what the situation is. I mean, if it is some kind of a flu epidemic and you have time to load up your stuff and get it to where you want to go, then great. But you got to remember, everybody is going to be on the road. People are going to be panicking. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on like that. So, all right. There would be a lot of panic and stuff, in that aspect. So, the sooner you can get out to your bug out location in a worst case scenario, the better. The immigrants are bringing a lot of diseases into our country. Yeah, they are. Absolutely, you're right. And that's why I'm a big believer. If you're going to let people come into our country, they need to do it the right way, and go through the proper steps to make sure that they're not bringing these diseases that we have under control for the most part here in the U.S., not letting them run rampant and go crazy. So how do you avoid fluoride? Don't drink the regular water that they have. I mean, I wouldn't drink town water if I could help it. There's Buddy now shaking the camera coming up here. So, no, I wouldn't drink town water. If you want to try to avoid drinking regular tap water with all the fluoride in it, do a rain catchment system and then treat that water yourself, between filtering it, boiling it, making sure it's drinkable that way if you want to go with that way. So, what, Buddy, can lay down? I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Hold on. So, there's Buddy's butt. There's Max, and there's Slugger laying out. Generally I have at least 3 cats in bed with me at all times. So they're always, only one that's not here right now that's one of my normals is Soxy. But she's always, if I'm sleeping at night, she's always here. Upstate New York, Waco, whereabouts in upstate are you at? Right, somebody just said, pretend you're in Mexico, don't drink the water. Oh, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate that, and you're welcome. Love Canada. Been up there many, many times. Actually, one of my favorite cities up in Canada was Montreal. I've only been there once. Beautiful, beautiful city. Just absolutely gorgeous. Been to Toronto many times. I used to take my stepson when he was little. We would go up and catch Yankee games up in Toronto. Beautiful city there too. Just absolutely gorgeous, and so a lot of fun. Canada's a blast. I love Canada. I love Canadian people too. So, is Durabond the same as Crazy Glue? I don't know, James. I'm not sure. That I think Crazy Glue is different. It's a different makeup. They patent those type of things, so I think that they're different. Berkey takeout fluoride. Berkeys are great for filtering everything out of it. And any kind of anything should not be in that water, a Berkey will filter it out. A Berkey water filter system is great to have. I love mine. I absolutely love mine. One of the best, investments that I made, honestly, if for the house, and you could take that regular tap water and filter that through that Berkey, and then you should be able to drink it with no problem. It'll take that fluoride out of there. Newfoundland. Wow, you guys up there a ways. How's the weather up there? It's got to be freaking cold up there. Wow. Let's see. Yeah, Rhonda just said the black Berkey filters remove everything. Yeah, they are freaking awesome. I'll tell you what, they are. Like I said, I love my Berkey, and I have no affiliation with Berkey. I don't get nothing out of Berkey. I love their water filter systems. They're freaking awesome. And if you can get a bigger one, like ours is a 6-gallon one, so we can filter up to 6 gallons at a time, and it takes time for that to filter through. But we use that like every day. I just actually put like 5 more gallons in it today to start filtering through. But yeah, we really, really like it. What's good to clean and disinfect the gunshot wound? Well, like I said, one of the things, like I said, you can absolutely use in an SHTF situation is alcohol. So if you have like a vodka, something like that, that's going to be a real good way to disinfect and clean that wound. And it sounds kind of crazy, and it's going to burn and it's going to hurt, but it'll work. Okay, so definitely have extra alcohol. If you can get grain alcohol, 190 proof, somebody that made out of a still, again, really, really good to have. is an antiseptic in an SHTF situation. Really good to have. It's going to be 55 in Michigan on Monday. That's a 100-degree difference. Hey, it's crazy. I know we had minus 12 the other day. It was minus 10 last night. I think our high today, we were looking at like up here, it was like a 4 or 5 degrees. Tomorrow's going to be in the 40s, and then it's going to be in the 50s, I think, by Monday. So it's just absolutely nuts, this weather. It's crazy. But, yeah, it's Ebola has been around for approximately 40 years. Do you see this being of a big pandemic? I hope not. I think they pretty much have that more controlled over in Africa. They keep having those breakouts over there, but it's more in those war-torn areas. If we had like a global situation going on, I definitely see that as being a big problem then. That could definitely be a huge, huge problem. So, $300 water system or water filter system. Music well, you're talking about the Berkey? Or are you talking about just having a water filter system? Yeah, if you have a water filter system, that'll work too. Brita, pure filters remove fluoride. Yep, you can do it that way too. I mean, like I said, for me, because we have it on the water filter. We just do it as much as we can. The other ones, we have like the gallon jug thing, and you put that in the fridge and it filters it that way. But the way that we do it, it works for us. So that's why I really, really enjoy it. Let's see. Hey, Bonnie, thank you very much. Baird, thank you for the donation too. Scotland. Hey, I got Scottish. I mean, my kids, actually, I'll tell you a quick story since you're from Scotland, Bonnie. On their mom's side, their father's name was Malcolm McPhail. Doesn't get much more Scottish than that. So on my dad's side, I got some Scottish in me from my dad's side. So the kids are heavily Scottish. So that is the reason that we named Heather Heather. And Edward is obviously very Scottish and English as well. So, yeah, so that's where that came from. So, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. I built my own water filter system using buckets. You can just buy the filters and make your own containment system for a lot cheaper. Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can do that. That'll work that way too. You're going to need the filters, and like 2 filters are around $100, I believe. I mean, you can get them. I've seen them like for $89 if they're on sale. But great to have. Great to have. Very, very important stuff. Tiny House Prepper shows you how to put together your Berkey water filters and how to use it. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Bonnie means beautiful or good. What natural remedies do you suggest for high blood pressure? Okay, again, there are a lot of natural things out in nature. I would suggest you go out and you buy a book on natural remedies that will have all that information in there. When I do my book review, guys, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's there, and all that information is there. You can get that now. Getting that information now and having it in hardcover and having it available to you when SHTF happens, it can be the difference again between life and death. Knowledge is power, okay? So the more information that you have that can help you survive, this is, it's not about it. It's not just surviving when SHTF happens, guys. It's about thriving, okay? We want to enjoy life still. So, it's like having the different knowledge and knowing what you need to do and what you have, available. That's really, really important, okay? So the more information that you can pick up, you go on a case-by-case situation. Normally, I take nothing. I take Advil if I'm in a little bit of pain, but that's it. I don't take any other kind of medication. So, but somebody that has, diabetes or somebody that has, high blood pressure, again, a lot of that can be controlled with weight and diet. Okay. So that's one way to look at things ahead of time. Another thing is find out what is available in nature that can help you in that situation. So really go find that information. Can I explain what the FEMA camps are about? Well, supposedly FEMA camps are to help us. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of things going on. I feel in a worst case scenario that they're not really going to be as helpful, with people. That's just my opinion on that. The information that I've seen in the internet, knowledge that I've, people have given me and stuff like that. In a worst case scenario, if you look at, I'm sure you guys have heard about the prison barges, and how a lot of homeless people have disappeared and stuff like that, and were taken away and stuff like that. I mean, there was a video that I saw that was a homeless shelter, and the cops had came in there and cleared it out of the homeless and stuff like that. So there's different weird things that are going on that we're not always getting the right information on. Um, I believe that, like I said, in a worst case scenario, they'll have like the big signs up, we're here to help you, come on in, and we'll get you help. And then I think they're going to basically decide who that they're going to help and who that they're not going to help. And I think that they'll dispose of people that they're not going to help. I just that's the way I feel. That's what I think will end up happening with FEMA camps when an SHTF situation happens, because again, there's people that they're going to be able to help, and there's other people that are not going to be able to help. And they're not going to waste resources on somebody that they consider a useless eater. I mean, that's realistic. Okay, so that's just wild lettuce for pain relief. Yep, Chip, I've talked about that too. Yes, wild lettuce is it's the same properties as morphine without the addictive personalities of morphine, and that can be used for pain management. So again, getting information ahead of time. Stay away from lidocaine if you have high blood pressure, will make it worse. Thank you, Carlene. Thank you for that information. Definitely good to know. Again, guys, knowledge is power. Get that information out there ahead of time, okay? Really, it's really important to get that information. So if you can get it now, get it. I love books. Books are just stock full of knowledge, and they're great to have. Elderly are doomed in these FEMA camps. I would say yes. I would absolutely say yes. And it sounds terrible, but it's true. Should I stay in Canada or come down south when SHTF is really cold up here? You know what? I don't think borders are going to make a difference anymore when SHTF happens. So, I mean, it'd be a personal choice. I think a lot of people in the northern states will eventually migrate south. I think the best case that you could do as anybody when SHTF happens, the longer that you can hunker down and try to ride things out, the better. I would say for the first year or two would not be a good idea to be traveling. You don't want to be out on that road. So, that's definitely, something to think about. Okay, so you're going to want to try to ride it out as long as you possibly can, and that's why you try to put yourself in a situation, to have. What is the ideal number of people to have in a survival or prep group? I would say between 20 and 50, to be honest with you, because you got to realize you're going to have people that are going to be down with injuries. You're going to have a collective mix of people. You're going to have older people. You're going to have younger people. You're going to have, children. So, I mean, as far as how many adults you want to have in a group, and then how many kids and, and elderly people, it's going to be an eclectic mix. So an ideal size of a group would be between 20 and 50 people, in my opinion, probably closer to 50 if you can do it. And but you can remember, that's a lot of mouths to feed. It's a lot of people that are going to have something to eat every day. So those are things to think about too. Again, a lot of it is planning ahead of time. That's going to be really, really important. Keep us out or keep us in. The whole wall thing, guys. It's political grandstanding. It is a lot. There's. I kind of have mixed feelings on a wall. I think that there needs to be some kind of border security, and if that constitutes a wall, I mean, Mexico has a wall on their southern border, and so I don't see anybody complaining about that. If there's a will, there's a way. People are going to get over here. That's true. Drug smugglers are still going to get their drugs in no matter what, with tunnels or whatnot. But you want to try to make it as difficult as possible for them. So in that aspect, I'm definitely for a wall, but it's not to keep us in. I don't see it as to keep us in. I see it more as to keep the people that we don't want in this country out. So in that aspect, I'm definitely in more favor of a wall. But, it's a huge catch-22. There's a lot of other things that really need to be addressed in this country other than that, but that's like seems to be the thing that's being pushed out, and it's being pushed by the media on both sides. So that's definitely you know but it's there's way more important things. Our infrastructure, I've talked about this before. Our infrastructure is an absolute freaking mess. So we really need to really focus on that and get that going and getting that taken care of. Our power grid is antiquated. Our water systems are atrocious. The dams, the roads, the bridges, they all need to be taken care of. Let's put the money into that, which feeds the economy, which is going to make our economy even stronger. I think that would be a great way to put a lot of money, put a lot of people to work, and really help support our country. And you got to remember something. Think about this, and this is something that I always go back to. I bombed around for a lot of years after I got out of the military. I worked in shipping and receiving. I worked as a short order cook. Did a little bit of everything, okay, and did some, I did actually we did house cleaning, different things to make money. And when I got into nursing, and then when I went to school and I got my degree, and then when I passed my boards, and I finally had that license, and I was like, oh my God, I finally made it. I'm a nurse, and that feeling was so awesome when you can give people that type of feeling of self-worth. And I'm talking whatever it may be, building bridges, building dams, working on the waterway, working on the infrastructure of the power grid. When you can give people self-worth, that is such an empowering thing for anybody, because you know that you can take care of your family, you can take care of what you need to take care of. And that was a huge thing for me. Okay, so I think that if we can do that with our own country, you look what happened when Roosevelt was president, and they took care of all the parks and all the work that was done at parks. If you go to like Letchworth State Park here in New York State, it is absolutely gorgeous, okay? But they put people to work. That's how you do it. You put people to work. You give people self-worth. And that, I think, is so missing today in our society, where these people that are in charge a lot of times, they treat people like garbage. When you treat people like a human being and you give people something to live for and you give them self-worth, it makes you feel better. And it's just how I feel about that. Yeah, the government has seized billions. Absolutely. Use the money for the wall. Use that money. It's absolutely. Make the drug dealers that you've seized that money from, the drug dealers and stuff like that, pay for the wall. I talked about that before. That money's there. It's sitting in the treasury. Why not utilize it? There's the money, more than enough for the wall. I think there was, it was $11 billion in sitting in there. Why not use that? Put that money to use. Put it, but like I said, and again, building the wall, you're going to have people, giving them self-worth. Again, you're going to put a lot of people to work doing something like that, a project like that. Do you think Florida will be the best place when SHTF happens? I think Florida will be the absolute worst place to be when SHTF happens, and I'll tell you why. On three sides, Florida is surrounded by water. There's one way in and one way out of Florida, okay? And if you're traveling the main highway, which is I-95, think about how overrun with people that would be. You're talking about your temperatures in the summertime in Florida are absolutely atrocious. Obviously in Georgia, South Carolina, and stuff like that as well, okay? But we're talking Florida, all right? You're going to have a lot of people dying from the heat down in Florida. And you're going to, like I said, unless you've got a boat and you can sail your boat away, there's only one way in and out of Florida. And I think that would be, you'd be in real, real deep trouble trying to travel, trying to get out of there. It would be very, very difficult. So Florida would be the very last place that I would want to be. Florida is very flat. There's not any high elevation. I think the highest point in Florida is like 300 feet above sea level. And if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I believe that that's what it is. So that's a scary thing. And then again, on top of that, if you're having hurricane season hits and it's an SHTF situation, there's nobody coming in to save the day, and you would have no idea it was coming until it already was on top of you. So there's another real good reason why Florida would not be the place you're going to want to be when SHTF happens. Everglade residents are your best friend or your worst. Yeah, Absolutely. If you know the right people, like I said, again, it comes down to knowing the right people. Everglade people know how to survive, guys. I mean, and there's the difference. They're not going to help everybody. Just like other people, they're not going to help everybody. So it's going to be pick and choose who they want to help. How long do I think before SHTF starts? You know what, guys? I never make predictions as far as that type of thing goes. I have no idea. I know that every day that we get to prepare is a bonus. That's the way I look at it. If we can get things accomplished, and that's why I always talk about making forward progress every day if you can. It is so, so important. Continuing to get ready, give yourself the best advantage that you possibly can for the upcoming crisis that is coming. I mean, it's not a matter of if, guys, it's a matter of when, okay? And it could be any number of things, and it could be something totally out of left field that we never saw coming. So those are important things to remember, that's, it could be any number of things. So every day that you get that you can prepare is a bonus. And that's how you have to look at things. Okay. Is it inevitable? Absolutely. Let's just put it like this. Let's just say that no natural thing happened. The monetary system that we have in this country it can't continue the way it is. So you're going to have a monetary collapse at some point. So they're going to have to do some kind of a reset. So just that alone, if nothing else happens, that is going to happen eventually. It can't continue the way it's going. They're not bringing enough money to take care of all the bills that are going out. And at some point, it becomes a breaking point. So, how are the kids? The kids are fine. They're not sick. They're not sick at all, luckily for them. So they're doing well. I've been kind of keeping to myself. As you know, like I said, I've been sleeping a lot. So, good remedy for ingrown toenails, scary things. I actually have one of my toes that I get that where it grows in. I cut that nail down as much as I possibly can. Every time, if it starts to bother me, I get way down in there and cut it all out of there. So that would be my suggestion if you have ingrown toenails. If you can afford to have them removed now, I had my uncle. He had issues with all of his toes with ingrown toenails, and so he actually had all of his toenails removed. And you can do that, and then they burn the roots so that they won't grow back. So that is another option that you can do. Because I only have the one that bothers me. It's my one big toe, and it's only on the one side. It's really weird. But I cut that side down like you would not believe. But that was a toe that I lost that toenail as a kid, and when it came back super hard. And that's why I have issues with that toenail. What is the best state to live in when SHTF happens? It would depend on the event. It would depend on the event of what was going on. If it was a Yellowstone event, obviously you wouldn't want to be out west. But if it wasn't a Yellowstone event, being up in higher elevation, being up in Montana and Colorado and those areas, the higher elevation would definitely be an advantage. New York State, there's some great places here. We got the Adirondacks, a lot of woods up in the Adirondacks. New York State, when people think of New York State, they think of New York City. And New York State has so much woods and nature up through here. It is unbelievable. It's absolutely gorgeous. Minnesota, up in those areas, Michigan, up higher up in the Upper Peninsula and stuff like that. Great areas to be. The cold weather is going to be an advantage, and I'm going to tell you why. Cold weather states are going to be the advantage because when SHTF happens, there's not going to be bands of people roaming around and trying to pillage and burn and rape and stuff like that because it's going to be too cold out. So like if SHTF happens in the winter, tactically, people in the northern states are going to have a huge, huge advantage. So, and then now our growing season is not as long. So that's where greenhouses and stuff like that really come into play. So having those ahead of time are going to be a really important thing to do again. Like I said, any kind of advantage that you can give yourself, do it. But again, it depends on what the SHTF event is. But being in large cities, being on the coastline, is not where you're going to want to be. And the coast is beautiful, both coasts. I've been up and down the East Coast. I've been up and down the West Coast. And they're absolutely gorgeous. Been to visiting both places, and it's just absolutely beautiful. But, with tsunamis and everything else that could possibly happen, very, very dangerous. Think about the fact if you were, let's say you lived on the West Coast, and you're out there on the beach having a nice time, having a little vacation, but you don't realize that a earthquake or something happened way out in this, tidal wave is coming. There would be no warning. After SHTF, there's no early warning signals anymore, so you would have no idea. That would take you out in a heartbeat. So, I mean, those are dangerous places to be. So you want to try to look at the advantage of where you're going to be in that situation. What do I think about Bird Box? Is it trying to warn us about something? It's. I watched the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it would be something like that you see it and all of a sudden you go crazy and you kill yourself. I mean, I don't think it would be something like that. But, it just goes again to show what human nature, how people would be. You would have good people and you would have bad people. I mean, that's, the realization that what we are capable of doing to each other as human beings is sickening, to be honest with you. So in an SHTF event, it would be very, very difficult, to trust people, number one. So it would be very, very scary. It would be scary, to be honest with you. It would be a horrible situation. Kathy Hill, I'm useless. I know that I'll be the first to go. Well, that's a very positive attitude, Kathy. The thing is, I want you to think about this, Kathy. The will to live is very, very strong. And as human beings, we're going to try to fight to the last breath in us to survive. Regardless of your medical conditions, regardless of what weight you are, regardless of any of that, the will to live is so strong in all of us that we're going to try to survive. So again, when I talk about giving yourself every advantage that you possibly can, do that. If there's things that you can change now that's going to give you a better advantage, do it. Like I'm telling you right now, we've been hunkered down because it's been so cold and the weather's been crap, okay? But my goal this year is I'm going to shed probably another 30 pounds. I want to get back down to about 180 pounds because I know the extra weight for me personally, it's not good for me. So I got to get rid of it, okay? So that's eating better, taking better care of myself, exercising more. And I want to do that anyway, just in preparation to be ready for whatever's happening. Not that I could care less if people tell me that I'm fat. I don't care. Believe me, at 53 years old, anything anybody says to me, you don't hurt my feelings. I could care less. So I would do it for myself, not for anybody else. But all of us need to look at ourselves and see what we can do to help ourselves right now, physically, mentally, getting out of toxic relationships, getting away from negative people. Make your life better, make your life happy. Life is so short, guys, and I talk about this a lot too. Life is so short, and we're only here for a certain amount of time. And if we can have a happy existence while we're here, it's very, very possible. It really, really is. And it's what you put into it. And that's what it's going to come down to. Whatever effort you're putting into it, if you sit back and you feel sorry for yourself and poor me, well, then that's exactly the way it's going to be, There will be spraying our skies. How do we protect ourselves if they are using biological agents to spread viruses and diseases? I don't know how we would be able to protect ourselves, Evelyn. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. We just got to do the best we can. Like I said, again, any kind of greenhouses that you can get them up if you can. It doesn't have to be hugely expensive. Now, what I want to do, because of where I am, I want to put in a geothermal system. I'm not fat. Trust me, Lynn. I'm a little heavy. I'm too fat for me. Like I said, I could easily lose 30 pounds without blinking an eye, and it would be definitely better. But thank you. I appreciate you saying that. But I see myself naked, so trust me, I could definitely stand to lose the weight. So what about buying online antibiotics or fish, and they say that humans can take them? Is that true? Yeah, again, fish mox is the same exact thing as amoxicillin. I've talked about this before. Again, buyer beware. It's your choice if you wish to purchase that. Would I use it? Yes, I would use it. So that's all I'm going to say as far as that goes. I've talked about that quite a bit. Do I think people with depression will snap out of it when SHTF happens? I don't think a lot of them will. If they're depressed and life is so hard on them now, I think it'll be just 10 times worse. I think a lot of people will give up. You got to realize there's very strong-minded people, and then there's weak-minded people in the world, okay? So, life is a test, and this is the way I kind of look at things. I always tell people this: life is a test. We're put here to learn lessons, and if we learn those lessons, we go on to whatever's next. And if we don't learn those lessons, then we got to come back and live it all over again. That's just my opinion on that, guys. Okay, so please, don't hammer on me on that. It's just my opinion. But the thing is, it's when you have people that, with depression, it's a very, very serious thing, and it's not anything that's a joke, and it's not something you can just snap out of. So I mean, it's depression is a very, very tough thing, and with the right treatment, and I'm not talking pills. I'm talking psychological treatment with a trained professional that can really help people work through their issues. I think depression can be taken care of. I really do. But, you need to have somebody that's really going to be there for you as a support mechanism as well. But I definitely do not recommend pills for depression. I do not recommend anti-anxiety stuff. I don't believe in that. I think that's all that is a Band-Aid. It's not a cure. So, and I'm going to be doing a video about that too, about pharmaceutical companies here really, really soon. So stay tuned for that one, because I got a mouthful to say about that, trust me. So let's see what we got here, guys. Prepping for pets is an important part of your plans. Yes, absolutely. Your pets, for me, like my pets are my children too. I mean, I have my kids and then I have my animals, and we definitely prep for our animals as well. And like I've said it before, in a worst case scenario, there will be a lot of dead bodies on the ground, and the animals can eat that meat if they have to. And that sounds terrible, but that is an availability that you could use to feed your animals. And that sounds terrible. It really, really does. But animals are going to still eat no matter what, and they don't care. So a greenhouse will help protect your plants from chemtrails. Yes, a greenhouse definitely will. They're not, whatever they're spraying out there is not going to get into that greenhouse. So, I'm a big believer in greenhouses. If you can grow your own food and those type of things, I think that's a really good thing to do. Be as self-sufficient as you can. And that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to work on here. And that's what we're going to continue to work on here at the homestead, is to try to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can. So I don't want just one greenhouse, guys. I want to have multiple greenhouses here. I want to have my big fruit orchard. I want to have my animals, chickens to start out with. Then I want to have, goats. I want to have pigs. I want to have meat rabbits. I want to have all those type of things. I want to be able to harvest all my own meat, have my own eggs that are grown in the animals that were grown here, and harvest those animals and know that they had a good life. And then when we butcher them, that's it's all part of the cycle, and with the greenhouses and growing as much of my own fresh vegetables that I possibly can, that's awesome. I mean, I'm really, really looking forward to all of that. I really am. So can't have a farm animals in the burbs. No, you can't. That's why I got out of the burbs. That's why I moved way out into the country, Put a towel over your head and inhale steam from a bowl of boiling water. Yeah, I know that helps. So thank you for that. I appreciate that advice. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get ahead of it. So it hasn't been a whole lot of fun, but what are you going to do? It's I don't get sick that often. I don't think I got sick last year at all. But like I said, I told Heather, I said, next time you got a doctor's appointment, I said, your mother's taking you. And I did it as a favor for her mother, taking her. I'm always very accommodating, and because her mother didn't want to do it. So that's another whole long story. We're not even get into that. But so I took her, and then I ended up getting sick. That's awesome. Love the doctor's office, especially pediatrics. Those kids got every kind of freaking bug that you can think of. So that's always fun. Let's see. Eucalyptus oil, essential oil will help with your cold. Okay, thank you, Kathy. The best prepper is a good homesteader. Absolutely. I think they go hand in hand. Why did I quit nursing? Several reasons. Politics being the biggest one. The nonsense that you have to deal with, the workload that they continuing to add more and more onto nurses now. The fact that nurses and CNAs are treated like crap by management, and that you're treated like garbage, that they could care less. When you're sick, they expect you to come into work instead of staying home so that you don't get your patients sick, because they could care less. Again, forcing people to have to get the flu shot when, I didn't even want to get the flu shot myself. And so here's the thing too. Like with this sickness that I got, I'm helping to build up my own immunity system too. So it's even though it's no fun with being sick, it's better to go ahead and get sick and build up that immunity system than try to placate it with something that may or may not work. Okay, but and it's going back to the nursing. After 29 years in nursing, I'm burned out. I had enough. The life expectancy of nurses, as far as in the field itself, is not that long because the burnout rate is so high. It's really, really high. I loved my patients. I'm going to tell you that right now. I love taking care of my old people. I may eventually go back on a part-time basis doing home care. I really haven't decided yet. I just needed a break, and so I just needed to get away from it. And so, and it's terrible to say I don't miss it. I do miss my old folks, so I really do. I loved working with my old people. So that's the one thing that I do definitely miss. So that's why I got away from it. But 29 years, I put in my time, guys. I really did. And there was, and there was no such thing as a 40-hour week either. So, it was usually 50 plus. So let's see what we got here. Let's see. Garlic is good. Lemon is good. Lime, ginger. Yep. A lot of vegan food out there can be cure a cold. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Well, here we're almost at that time again. Hour goes by pretty quick. I started out pretty slow, but I think I picked it up here towards the end of this. So, thank you so much, all of you guys, for the support. I do appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll feel better. Remember, we're all in this together. We really, really are, and a lot of people lose sight of that. So it's important to remember that we are all in this together. And remember, guys, hug and kiss the ones you love. Tell them every single day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what's going to happen. And remember STD, guys. It's one step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, you can do it. Anybody can do anything if you put your mind to it. You really can. Stay away from the negativity. Negative people are only going to try to bring you down because they're miserable and unhappy as well. Okay? I hope everybody has a great night. I hope you're going to have a good weekend. Be safe. I will talk to you all later. Have a good night. Prepper Nurse 1 out for now.